So welcome back. We're talking about spiritual and twin flame books. We're already talking about Paulo Coelho's The Fifth Mountain and The Alchemist, so check those videos out. And today we're going to talk about another Paulo Coelho book, and it's Brida. Unfortunately, I just realized that I don't have this book in English. It's in German. However, I still want to read or rather translate some parts to you that are about twin flames, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about this book. So since I have to translate it, bear with me. I am a quick thinker, but okay, let's just start. So there is this young woman, Brida, and just a little bit out of context, she wants to learn magic. She's had that inner pull from the beginning. Maybe she's had, like me, a south node in her 8th house. We don't know. But those people, since they were young, they have this strong urge to connect to spirit. And she is 21 years old, so pretty young still, but she's already learned the tarot and all of that. And now she wants to learn magic. And she already knows that there's 2 different ways of magic, at least in this book. And one is the way of the sun, which you could say maybe like more divine masculine energy, and then there's the way of the moon, and she needs to decide which one she wants. And she heard about this magician. She herself later on will call herself a witch, but she learned about this magician and she is seeking him in order for him to teach her magic. So this is basically how we start. This is now the first line in this book, and the story is set, by the way, in Ireland in 1984. No, 1983 till 1984. I want to learn magic, said the young woman. The magician looked at her in her jeans and t-shirt. I'm skipping some parts, okay? I'm focusing on the most important. I'm probably twice as old as her, he thought. And still he knew that he just encountered his missing other part. My name is Brida, she said. I'm sorry I haven't introduced myself yet. I've been waiting for this moment for so long, and I'm way more excited than I had expected. Why do you want to learn magic? He asked. I want to get an answer of some of my questions for life, and I want to learn about the occult, and maybe to travel into the past and the future. She is pretty, he thought, but I'm twice as old as she is, which didn't mean anything but that he knew that suffering was awaiting him. So let's just consider that I teach you what I have learned, he said, and he looked straight into her eyes. I start showing you parallel worlds that are surrounding us, angels and the wisdom of nature, the mysteries of the sun tradition and the moon tradition. And someday you go down to the city just to go grocery shopping, and in the middle of the street, you meet the man of your life. I wouldn't even know how to recognize him, she thought, but she didn't say anything, because that question was way tougher to answer than she had expected. So he would feel the same, and you get closer to each other, and then you fall in love. You, Brida, you will keep on learning with me, and during the day I will teach you about the cosmos, the universe, and at night he will teach you about love. But someday there is this moment where you can't do both at the same time, and you have to decide. The magician was quiet for a while. He was scared of the answer of the young woman, even before he has asked her the question. That she came to him that afternoon meant for both of them that a life cycle was ending. He knew that because he knew the tradition and the fate of the masters. He needed her just as much as she needed him, but she had to tell the truth in that moment. So she, later on, she says yes, she would give up everything for love. And then we skip some pages. And in this part now, we are going to talk about how you recognize your twin flame. And remember, when you read this, the first twin flame eye contact, it's showing up again. And in the Zen tradition, you recognize your other part through the glowing in their eyes. Brida says, I have seen many eyes glow. And today in the pub, I saw your eyes glow. And the magician, he's a bit upset because he thinks that she's not able to see. I don't understand the thing with the eyes, Brida started again. I want to know how I found my other part in the moon tradition. The magician looked at Brida and his face was cold and emotionless. He said, "Through a dot. There is a glowing dot over the left shoulder of your other part. That's how you recognize it in the moon tradition." "I will go now," Brida said. But she still hoped that he would ask her to stay because she liked being with him. And he answered her question. She leaves and he does a little ritual. When he was done with his ritual, he sat at the front of the door and looked into the sky. He thought about Brida. He saw her in the bus, and over her left shoulder, he saw the glowing point, the glowing dot, because she was his other parts. He thought about how much she wished to finish that journey since the day she was born. He thought about how cool and distant she's been when she stepped into his house, and that this was a good sign. It meant that she was confused when it came to her own emotions. She was fighting something that she couldn't understand yet. But he also thought with worry that she was in love with another man. "All humans find the other part, Brida," the magician said to the plants in his garden. But deep in his inner self, he also realized that he, even though he's been following the traditions for so many years, had to still strengthen his belief. And he said to himself, "We all meet our other parts sometime in our life and recognize him. If I wouldn't be a magician and I wouldn't see the dot over your shoulder, I would take a little bit longer to accept you. But you would fight for me, and one day I would see the spark in your eyes. But now I am the magician and I have to fight for you, so that all of my knowledge turns into wisdom." And then there's another thing he fears, and that is that few people meet more than one other part of them throughout the same incarnation. And this has been happening since thousands of years before. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about this. So we have Brida, it's her story, but sometimes the perspective shifts into this perspective of the magician, and he is the one who is on a spiritual path for many years. He's a spiritual teacher, a spiritual master, and he is very much aware of twin souls. And in this book, you already heard it, they're not called twin souls as in this book, but they're called their other parts, the other part, the missing other part, even in one point. And the magician, they have their own way of recognizing their other part. Either it could be the sparkles of the eyes, the glowing in the eyes, like many of you already know when you're on the twin flame journey. That is why I made a video about the famous twin flame eye contact. Did I do it? At least I mentioned it in the 20 signs of a twin flame connection. Yeah, when you meet your first twin flame, it's the first eye contact that is doing something to you, and you have this physical reaction and you just recognize them. There's this instant soul recognition going on. And in the moon tradition, as written in this book, there is this other way to find out who is your divine counterpart, your other part, and that is the glowing dot all over one's shoulder. And he sees that with her. What I don't really agree with in this book is that there is a hint that one person may have more than one twin flame. I kinda disagree because, I mean, it's a twin flame, not a triplet flame. But then you saw my other videos maybe where I talk about divine counterparts. We have more than one close soul connections, of course. And there could be, catalysts you have a strong connection with. And in this book, it's already kind of implied that since he is the spiritual teacher, that he's not going to get into ill relationship, or that he has to decide as well whether or not he wants that. And he never is telling her, I don't want to spoil it, but he never tells her what he feels. So he knows it is her job to find out that he is her other part. And also we already saw it that there might be another part for her, so she may have two men. And again, we are no triplet flames, we're twin flames, but there is other kind of high level soul connections, even if it's not a twin flame. So I wouldn't necessarily want to say twin flame when it comes to this book, because the other part, I would like to use the umbrella term divine counterpart. A twin flame is a divine counterpart, yes, but not the only one, because a soulmate could be a divine counterpart, or a mirror soul, or a soul twin. There's different kind of divine counterparts, and yes, some people meet more than one. Often, if that is the case, one is a catalyst to prepare for the other one. Here she is in love with a physicist who is not on a spiritual journey. So she's meeting one guy who she shares a spiritual connection with, and one that she also loves where she shares another kind of connection with, more the daily life connection, but it is still love. So this is quite interesting in this book about, it's more about the journey, also a spiritual journey. And like in The Alchemist, the spiritual journey already started. She was already seeking before she met him, and as I said, he recognized it first. So sometimes the divine feminine or divine masculine, they can merge, because some people, like myself for example, they inhabit both energies very strong within themselves. They have a strong inner masculine and a strong inner feminine. And he also claims he learned about the sun and the moon tradition. So he has both. He is the spiritual one. She is the seeker. He is the older one. Twin flame age gap, you know that, twice as old. She's 21, so you must be around 42. That's quite an age gap. Well, for me and my twin flame, it's 19 years, so basically not too far apart from that, which is another typical motive, the age gap. But he's the one who's already the ascendant, like the master, the teacher, and she's the student. But always please remember that is more like human experience stuff, because he's older. On a soul level, twin flames, they are always the same frequency. So no twin soul is older than the other. That is not possible, because they were created at the same time, or they came from the same stream of consciousness, you could say, which other divine counterparts often do as well. They come from the steam. Even if it's not a twin flame, they would share an oversoul. Yeah, what I was going to say, he has both in it. He is the teacher, so he has the more spiritual aspect, which is the divine feminine aspect, the knowing. He has the seeing of the inner world. He is connected. She is still seeking, but at the same time, he is the man. And I don't see that he is the divine feminine, which could, of course, also happen in twin flame connections, that the man is the divine feminine energy, but he is not in this kind of energy. Well, he would be maybe like more in the divine feminine energy, because he is the one who knows and who's waiting for her, but he is not in the distorted divine, but he's not in the distorted feminine energy going to chase for her. He is in his power, and he knows that it is up to her to decide. I don't really agree with that anymore, because now that I've learned more about manifesting, I've realized that no, we do have 100% control. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, check out my other coaching videos, because if we manifest everything and we can manifest whatever we can imagine, then there's different timelines. Time is an illusion, and we just choose the timeline where that person chose us. So that timeline is available for us. We don't have to do anything in order to manipulate or change the other person. We change our perception, we change our self-concept, and we just get another version of them. So there's no manipulation going on. You don't have to wait for that person to choose you. You have to choose yourself, and you have to choose the version of them that you would like to experience. So that would be the version of them that chooses you. And once you have that energy and you hold on to that energy, that is what you're manifesting. Another thing I don't really agree, he's sometimes talking about demons and stuff. Yeah, when I started my spiritual, I don't want to say when I started, but let's say my mid-20s, I still believed in I forgot the word, but I still believed in the polar opposites, the good and the bad, the light and the dark. And the more you ascend, the more you realize, wait, that's not real. None of that is real. It's just all a projection of what is within me. So, which also means nobody can ever attack me. There is no demons. There's just my own inner demons that can get pushed out in some kind of way. Everyone is being pushed out, as we say in manifesting. So I don't believe in this kind of the good versus the evil stuff, as we do have in, this book mentioned that there's like demons. Not my belief anymore. I used to believe in that. Now I realized, wait, I create everything around me. I create my entire experience. So if there is like a demon or I have encountered black magicians in my life, and also, yeah, you could say demons, but who created them? It was me, it was myself. And when you learn that, then you are not scared of the polar opposites anymore. But it's a good book. This one, I would say, would be my favorite out of those 3 that I have read, followed by Brida, followed by The Fifth Mountain. But I would suggest all of them. In English, I believe this book is also called Brida. Paulo Coelho, he's a Brazilian author. He's from Brazil. And Brida was also the original title in Portuguese. But I think it's also the same title in the English literature. However, I'm going to find the link, Amazon link to this book, and I will post it below. So if you are interested in buying it, please use that link, and I would even get a small commission, tiny commission. If you've already read it, please leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about the book. I really like it, even though I don't agree 100% with his portraying of twin flames, you know, like the triplet flames. But even though when we just say, okay, not twin flame, but divine counterpart, yes, you can have more than the one divine counterpart, absolutely. But I think it's a really good book because it shows about the inner journey that is attached to that. And in this book, it's the masculine, the man, who realizes first what was going on. But as he said in the quote I just read to you, it is because he has had that excessive spiritual training. And he said in the quote I read to you, if I was not a magician, it would have taken me longer to realize. But he acknowledges it that sooner or later you would have realized that she is his divine counterpart, or as he says, his other part, or his missing other part. So yeah, Brida, Paulo Coelho. Find the link below. Leave your comments if you're interested in personal coaching. You know where to find my contact information. It is below, and I'm looking forward to hear from you, and I wish you all the best. Check out my other playlists and content, and now all the best now. Bye bye.